'Cause your opinion don't matter. This a maniac is gonna step on whomever.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, SMARONENINE. So in today's video, we are going to continue on with the tutorial series. If you guys haven't watched my last video, make sure you do. I talk about setting up the editor and setting up the spin mod, getting you guys all set up. In this video, we're going to open up the editor and I'm going to show you guys how to get a map started and we're going to talk about a few of the tools that the editor provides and just kind of familiarize you with how the editor works. So let's jump right into it. I might have to break this up in a couple of videos. I've already recorded this video like 3 times and I can't keep it under 30 minutes. There's just so much to talk about, especially trying to teach somebody who's never done this before. So anyway, we'll get as far through it as we possibly can. So let's jump right into it. So go ahead and open up your spin mod, hit the Mudrunner editor, and right here, so yours might look like this. You might just see these 4 folders. Just go ahead and hit this little plus button and then just highlight where it says mods right here with your left button. Right click and hit create new mod, and when you do, you're going to see this new folder appear with a brand new code. You're going to want to highlight that, right click it, and go down to new terrain. Once you're in this part can be confusing to a lot of people, and I don't know why, because it tells you right here what to do. But I often get a lot of messages, my map won't work, something's wrong. So a lot of times it is this. So you have to start every map with level underscore. And then it doesn't matter what you call it after that. You can just go like that if you want. All this is it's naming the file. It's not naming the map. A lot of people think this is where the name of the map comes from, but it really isn't. This is just the file name. So when we get to the video where we're naming the map, I'll go over that in much more detail. But for this one, we're just going to go tutorial map. And that's it. That's all you have to do. It just has to start with level underscore. As far as size, now the biggest Mudrunner map you can make, to my knowledge, is 1024 by 1024. And in Mudrunner, that's going to be, let me bring this back down. That's going to be a 64 by 64 within the game. Now that's the biggest Mudrunner map. I think you can make one bigger if you want, but I don't recommend coming up here because your computer will probably blow up. Stay down below 1024 and down. You never want to go any bigger than that. And not only that, you don't really want to go much bigger, because even if your computer can handle that size map, somebody else's will not. So if you upload a map that's humongous and somebody with a not so powerful computer downloads it and tries to play it, they're just going to constantly crash. It's not going to run right for them. So you got to, you're making maps for yourself, but you're also making maps for the community. So you got to kind of think about the community as well. So if you're a new map maker and you never made a map before, making a map this size, 1000 by 24 by 1024, is probably intriguing, and you probably would jump right into it and not have an issue. For me, I've been making maps for 6 years, and I never go that big. They take way too long to build, especially if you're as picky as I am. So my go-to size these days is between 400 and 500. For this tutorial video, we're going to just go down to 416. I think within Mudrunner, this is going to be like a 25-25 or a 26-26. Once you hit OK, this will be popped up. Just go ahead and hit yes. And right down here where it says blocks. So this is the size of your map, 26 by 26. Just go ahead and right click, rebuild, and then hit save. Now that little step I just did is very important, and you're gonna hear me stress that a lot throughout all these tutorial videos. It's very important that you do that. So if you're building a map for 2 hours and you're doing all your thing and you're not rebuilding and saving, if the editor does crash, and sometimes it might, it has on me, it'll crash and then all the work you just did is gone and you have to start all over. So every time I do something, if I add a house, I rebuild terrain and save. If I add a trail, I rebuild, save. I do it constantly. So just to get that out of the way. Okay, so this is your basic layout of the editor. The most important thing is I don't like this little small space to work in. So the first thing I do is come up here where this little pin is. Go ahead and click that, and then click that one as well. And then you got a nice big open workspace to mess around with. Up here along this, don't let all of this intimidate you. You don't need any of it. The only thing I use once in a while is this right here where it says night. You switch that over. That's when I'm working with like lamp poles or telephone poles or anything with lighting, and I want to see what it looks like on the map. I might switch over to night, but technically you don't need any of this except for the save button, so we'll get to that. Okay, so over here, these are your tools. So go ahead and hit this little plus, and now you got terrain, geometry. These are all your tools to build a map. We'll start right at the top of geometry. Don't worry about terrain right now. We'll get to mutator and this height map stuff later on in the series, but for now we'll start right at geometry. Now you got size, value, and then you get this height, and then if you open that up, you got flatten. Don't worry about these two, auto fade and randomize. You don't need them, especially the only time you need randomize is for distributions, which will be in the next video. But for height, so size, this is obviously just your cursor. The bigger, the smaller. Value, anything above 50. We'll bring this up. Anything above 50 is going to lift the ground. Anything below 50 is going to lower the ground. So that's all that is. Pretty simple stuff. Then you click this down, hit flatten, put the value back on 50, and that'll obviously flatten the ground out. So simple as that. And then just hit undo all. If you don't want, if you click anywhere on the map, that'll save. That'll be right there. But if you just click undo, there you go. It's right back to where it was. If you click this little plus next to geometry, this little plus, you're going to see tint and mud and water. We'll go over tint. So tint is the same thing as geometry. Anything above 50 is going to place it. Anything below 50 is going to erase it. So we'll go up to about 80, 75. And what tint is, it's just what it says it is. It's just gonna colorize wherever you do it. So the only time I really use tint is underwater, like under bodies of water. I rarely use tint on the map itself. So if I lay a pond of water out, I'll tint underneath the water so it kind of looks like it's wet. Obviously underwater dirt is going to be a different color than above water dirt, so that's kind of when I use the tint tool. I don't really use it anywhere else except for that. With tint you can use randomize. Auto fade, I'll explain that some other time. Don't worry about auto fade. I'll show you what auto fade does, but randomize, what that it does, see how it doesn't make a solid line. Like if I take it off, you can see it kind of just puts it in sections. That's kind of what the two differences is. But we'll go ahead and erase that. All right, let me show you auto fade real quick, just so you get an idea. So if I put it on height, I bring this up. So what auto fade is, if I stop making a hill, see, it's gonna like try to blend itself wherever I'm going with this. And I don't know why you would use that. I think it's kind of dumb. I've never used auto fade, so don't ever worry about that. Maybe somebody else is more advanced with it. So mud. So mud, same thing. Above 50 is adding mud. Below 50 is taken away from mud. Basically the same thing. With mud, I never go higher than 60, but my go-to is 55. And you got automatic and you got extrudes. We'll start with automatic. With automatic, I only use these for one reason, and that's to mimic tire tracks. So I'll go down to 1.2 and I'll just draw a line. And then I'll draw another line here, but you can't really see it yet. Then we'll go up to 60 and I'll draw the same thing over here, which now you can see it a little better. Like that, and that's kind of what mud does. The automatic tool does. It kind of mimics tire tracks, but you can also like widen this up, and like if you have water, you can go around the edges of water and stuff like that to kind of give it that appeal. And which it looks kind of good, but I don't really like the automatic tool for a couple of reasons. So if you're in the game, I don't know if you guys ever noticed when you're driving your truck in the game, and sometimes you go over mud and it looks like your tire is like floating on top of the mud. That's because the creator has used too much of this automatic tool. And I plan to do a tutorial and show an advanced mud tool tutorial. I'm going to do that in the future and kind of show you everything with the mud and what it does and how it works and how I make it work and etc. etc. So that'll be a video we'll come to. I'm not going to get into it too much detail in this video, but we're just giving you the basics. Okay, now also with mud, you got this drop down, which gives you extrudes. Now what extrudes does, it's basically the same thing. So right in this section we have mud, but if I click that, you can't see it. So that's kind of where the tint tool would come into play. So you can hit randomize and you can kind of go like that. And now you know there's mud right there. And then there's other ways to make it look like mud. And this is kind of the technique I use more often than the automatic tool. But again, when I get to that advanced mud tool, I'll show you all those tricks and what I do. Okay, so that covers geometry, tint, mud, water. We'll get to that in the next video when I talk about rivers. So we won't talk about that now. Materials. So they always start you with grass to dirt. And the stupid thing about that is if I start to draw, you're drawing with grass. That's kind of silly. So I don't know why the game does that. So we want to switch this to dirt to grass. So you want to come down here, click this little press button, select dirt, and then press this one and find your grass. Now a lot of these you won't have because a lot of these are custom materials, so we'll stick to stock stuff that I know you have. So hit OK, and then when you hit the button, now you can see it's a dirt trail and everything's grass. So we'll rebuild terrain, and there we go. I'm gonna actually erase that and show you a little thing I do with materials. We'll go ahead and rebuild it so we get our grass back. Alright, so with materials, same thing. The higher you go, it'll erase it. The lower you go, it'll place it. My go-to size with basic trails is 2.8. My basic value I always use is 35. Now let me show you the difference between them. So I'll just draw a straight line down. And another good value is 30. And we'll come straight down with this. And then another size I use is 40. Alright, so we'll do that. We'll rebuild it. And this will kind of give you an idea of what each value will do. So this was our 30 value. And as you can see, it has much straighter lines. It's a more pronounced trail. Whereas if I jump over here to the 35, you can see some of the grow is kind of onto the trail a little bit, which gives it a little bit more realistic appeal. And then 40, it's really grown over a lot. So it kind of shrinks up the trail a little bit. I think these two look much more natural, especially in woods and when you're doing regular trails. But I use this stuff when I'm doing like roads and stuff. But these two are kind of my go-to values when it comes to trailing. So we'll go ahead and we'll erase this. All right, we'll rebuild that real quick. Okay, so locators. You can either right-click here or you can right-click anywhere on the map and just go down to where it says add locator, and then it'll pop up right here. And then to get this set up, you want to come down here where it says type and go all the way to the corner. You can't see an arrow here, but if you just left click, you'll get a drop down for garage, fuel, log, lumber, watch point, truck. We'll go ahead and put garage. Don't worry about position and direction. You do that right over here. Width and length is all we need to worry about. So if I click right in front of that 0 and push a 1, and click right in front of this 0 and push a 1, and then click anywhere in this white, there you go. You're going to get a little square box, and that'll be your garage spawn for the map. Same thing as if I wanted to add a fuel station. Fuel. But this time I'm going to click in front of the 0, backspace, and put a 5. Backspace and put a 5. That's kind of my go-tos for my fuel. And then just click, and there you go. You got your fuel and your garage all ready to go. Right click, rebuild, save. And really quick, we'll try to sneak models into this video. So with models, you just right click up here or anywhere on the map, same as this, and go add model. It'll take a second to load up. Now a lot of these models you see in this, what's going to pop up, you won't have in your editor, especially if you're brand new to map making. A lot of what you see in here is all custom stuff. And when we get to advanced model using, I'm going to do that tutorial as well. I'll teach you guys all about using custom rocks and custom models and where to find them and how to get them and how to use them. So we'll get to that in the future. But for now, we want to look for a stock model, something that I know you guys have, which would be the garage right here, the stock garage. So I'm going to hit OK. And as you can see, we have a model on the map. So I'm going to try to pull this back and try to get it in the middle as much as I can. And I'll show you a few techniques with this. So when you place the model, this is your axis. You get the green arrow goes up and down. You get the blue that goes side to side. And you get the red that goes back and forth. And then you can, these lines, you can turn it. You can turn it. You can turn it. You can do anything you want. If you ever do this and you say, oh shit, I want to get it back to being flat, just push Control Z on your keyboard and push it as many times as you want a backspace. So Control Z, Z, Z. Now I'm back to being perfectly the way it was. Another cool trick is if it's way up here, if you right click anywhere on the map, you can do it down here, down here, down here. You can do it within this circle. You always want to hit Do Land. And then it's going to put it completely flat and where it needs to be on a flat surface. And it'll work anyway. If you have it way under, just right click, Do Land. It's going to put it right where you want it. And again, if you mess up, because if you notice, if I come over any of these, they'll lighten up yellow. If I'm clicking around and I accidentally go, oh shit, then again, just Control Z and it's going to put it right back. And then go ahead and click anywhere on the map, right click, rebuild. And there you go. There you got all your shadowing and all that stuff. Hit save. And then we want our garage locator in front of our garage. So we're going to slide this over and put this right in front of the garage. Now, a lot of people put their trucks right on this square. They think this is the spawn. It really isn't the spawn. This is just, it's the spawn, but it's more or less a thing like if you're out on the map and you're over here driving and you want to respawn back to the garage, when you do that in the game, it's going to put the vehicle in this square box. So, I mean, you can make this as big as you want, but I recommend leaving it away from the garage a little bit. Don't have it like this or don't have it like this, because if you spawn back in the game, it's going to glitch you and put you in the garage and all that stupid shit. So always have it out kind of a little ways from it. And there you go. So we're going to go ahead and rebuild and save. Okay, and so in this video we covered geometry, materials, locators, models. I'm going to end the video here. I don't want to go much longer. In the part 2 video, I'm going to try to get through the rest. Plants, distributions, overlays, etc., etc. We'll get through the rest of it. So this is just going to get us started. I hope this helped you guys out, especially if you're new to map making. So we already saved, we already rebuilt, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. And when I open this back up in the next video, we'll pick up right where we left off. So again, I hope this helped you out, especially if you're new. If it did, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I will talk to you guys again real soon.
They say that I've lost it, but talk me down, and I swear it's gonna cost you. Now I'm back, the boss of you.